A lot of good football this past week of holidays. I know that it is a lot of days removed from Christmas, but I'm finally back here on stream and able to talk about all the games that we saw. On Christmas Day specifically, a lot of, weird games. Weird games on Christmas, I can't lie. A lot of the games just turn out to be weird. So, starting off, not too much to say about this Washington 7-point loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott had a good game. Thought it was really interesting, though, to see Malik Davis take over the backfield. Now, I know the Cowboys are eliminated from playoff contention, so my guess was that, they were trying to find something to feel good about going into the end of the season into next year. Taking Javonte Williams snaps away, I thought was interesting late in the game. I know he got the rushing touchdown, but Malik Davis taking over the backfield there, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt absolutely dominating the run game on the ground here. 11 carries, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But not much to say. Cowboys took down the Commanders, 7-point win. Jake Ferguson catches a touchdown, his only catch of the game. Kevontae Turpin, 86-yard bomb touchdown. Bang, bang, bang. But overall, this game turned out to suck in the second half, I can't lie. I remember Dallas having that good second quarter and then turning the game off by the fourth quarter because it was just not really that exciting of a game. How about the biggest fall off, in my opinion, in this NFL this season? The Detroit Lions, 8-8. Lose in Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy now, not only do the Vikings, win with J.J. McCarthy earlier in the season, but now they win with Max Brosmer, throwing 51 passing yards in this game and scoring 23 points in a win. Shout out Jordan Addison for having no catches in this game and still scoring a lot of fantasy points because he had that 65-yard rushing touchdown. Aaron Jones, 53 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown as well, but man, what happened to this Lions offense? Specifically, the Lions run game. 30 rushing attempts for 2.3 yards per carry is insane. Thinking back, even at the beginning of the year, how good, dominant this Lions running offense was. I remember, look at this. They started the year 52 points against the Bears, 38 points against the Ravens, 34 against the Browns, 37 against the Bengals, 24 against the Buccaneers, 44 against the Commanders. Felt like this team was going to be great offensively. And then, man, crazy. How do you have Goff, Gibbs, Monty, St. Brown, Williams, and still lose to Max Brosmer? And I would even say they lost to Max Brosmer. 51 total passing yards in this one, and you still cannot find a way to win is absurd. Absurd. I do want to say, one of the best steals of the draft. If he was anywhere else, he'd have so many more catches, but man, shout out to Isaac TeSlaa. Dude is a ball player, Isaac TeSlaa. Third-round pick. He only has 15 catches on the year, but 6 of them turned out to be touchdowns. He keeps catching really good passes. I know, Kane. It's crazy. Let's go to team stats right here. Look at that. Passing first downs. The Lions have 12 to the Vikings 2 in this one. If I go over here, look at all these stats. Look at this. Third down efficiency. Lions technically converted more. Total plays, Lions have more plays. Lions have more yards. Lions have, 3 total passing yards, technically, were given to the Vikings in this one. 3? That's insane. More rushing attempts for the Lions. This is the difference right here, though. 6 turnovers in the game for Detroit, man. I mean, I didn't watch much of this game, I can't lie, but I looked afterwards. Jared Goff fumbling 3 times, Jahmyr Gibbs fumbling. I mean, just an absolutely terrible game. I see the chat. I see you saying that Adam C. Fire Dan Campbell. Man, I don't know what to say. He's been a great culture guy, but clearly he needed his coordinators because this year has been an incredibly disappointing year for the Detroit Lions. Can't believe their downfall. In a game I think Denver should have lost, but they end up coming out with a big win. 20-13 win in Kansas City. This was a big one for Denver because the Patriots obviously came out and beat the Jets. So Denver needed this one to keep atop the AFC. And they did. R.J. Harvey, big receiving touchdown. Also had a solid game on the ground. Was very impressed with Jaleel McLaughlin as well. Imagine losing to the Colts. Denver frauds. That's funny, Kane. I was actually kind of impressed with Chris Oladukin, however you say his name. I know he didn't have a great game, and he is the third-string quarterback, so you're not expecting much out of him. I'm impressed with what I see from him. I don't know. I feel like he's a good backup, and he'll have a serviceable career as a backup in the NFL, but At the end of the day, this Chiefs offense is not what it wants to be. Cold weather game. Couldn't get any rhythm going offensively, and the Broncos just came back late in this one. In a big defensive game, came back at the end and secured the victory. I'm forgetting how they scored late in the game. What was that final touchdown? It was that long drive that ended in a, let me double check it here. Yes, that was the RJ Harvey 1-yard touchdown pass. Yep, to end the game. Congratulations to the Broncos for securing their spot atop the AFC going into Week 18. Not yet, but going into Week 18. Congrats to me as well, Eric. Congratulations. I'm guessing you're saying that because you won your fantasy league. Congrats, my guy. Well, I hope you're... Yes, sir. Congratulations. I did too. We'll go over fantasy in a little bit, but congratulations to us fantasy champions over here. Texans go into LA and win this one. This was a great game. I was not expecting this one to turn out as good as it was. CJ Stroud had a couple really bad passes and had a couple really good passes. I thought both of his touchdown passes were absolute beauties. Both to Jaden Higgins over that deep middle, and then to Jalen Noel on that deep middle cross as well. I thought the Chargers were going to win this one. I can't lie. I thought they established the ground game poorly. I thought the Chargers were going to be better on the run than they were in this one. How you doing, my guy? Good to see you. I'm all warm. Oh, yeah. I'm all warm right now. Hey, Tony. How you doing, my guy? Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome back into the Rip Lounge. We are back. I'm back every day, so expect to see me back into the routine every single day here. 10 to 2, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. But Houston Texans, man, beat the LA Chargers 20 to 16. Quentin Johnson had a nice game, 5 for 98, but man, it's turned out to be a Houston Texans defensive masterclass, man. This Texans defense statistically is the best defense in football since 2009. Crazy to think about, but it is true. Couple interceptions there in the second quarter for the Texans. Yes, Eric, they don't have an offensive line. Now, I will say it's going to look a little bit different when they're healthy next year. And they are 11-5 with no healthy offense. With not a healthy offense. They haven't had a healthy offense all year. So to still be 11-5 tells me that I think this Chargers team is set up for a lot of success in the future. But until they find health, it's going to be a bit. I do hope that hockey break fills. I really do. It's only 22 spots to go, $22 a spot. I think it's cheap enough to where we can keep it up. Hockey Collector, yes, it has, but we also just had a week off. So we got to let stuff go for a little bit. And then I'll make decisions in the next week or so on my group breaks. But shout out Houston, man. Looking like a real Super Bowl contending team after starting off the year really, really poorly. As you can see, a couple losses to start the year, 0-3. They now can't fall all the way back and are now 11-5 going into the last week. Looking to be 12-5 against the Colts. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've rattled off 8 straight wins for the Houston Texans. Making a big playoff push going into the deep. No one wants to see this defense, guys. Nobody wants to see this Houston Texans defense in the playoffs. So very intrigued to see them beating the Chargers. Tough game. I was sad watching this one. I thought Malik Willis played a hell of a game for the Green Bay Packers. 18 of 21, 288 yards and a touchdown. Dude, every single play he made, he earned himself another couple $1 million in this offseason being an unrestricted free agent. Very interested to see what the market looks like for Malik Willis going into the offseason with, the Packers obviously having Jordan Love. What is Malik Willis going to look like on another team? But John Harbaugh said, I'm not losing my job without giving Derrick Henry the ball on the ground. 36 carries, 216 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Derrick Henry. Broke off a couple of those nice left runs. Zay Flowers had a nice touchdown in this one. 41-24 domination for the Ravens over the Packers. Yo, Eric, if you're still here, shout out Derrick Henry for being here on my fantasy championship. Derrick Henry leading me to my fantasy championship. It was awesome. I wasn't actually watching too much of this game live. I was actually at a bowling alley, but I kept looking at my phone and seeing touchdown Derrick Henry. 5 minutes later, touchdown Derrick Henry. 5 minutes later, another big play by Derrick Henry. I was so happy watching those updates happen on my phone. Shout out to him for winning a lot of people their fantasy championship, but Malik Willis, 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown. Only 3 incompletions. Josh Jacobs, though, probably lost a couple people their fantasy championship. Josh Jacobs had 3 rushing yards on the day. He did have 1 catch for no yards. So dude had 3 total yards in this one. Christian Watson continues to be the wide receiver 1 in this offense, 5 for 113 and a touchdown. But Green Bay going to have serious problems in the playoffs with how bad this one defense is now that Micah Parsons and a couple other guys have gotten injured, and not really finding any more offensive consistency going into the playoffs. Interested to see how Jordan Love, if they play him, what the week looks like, what the Packers look like, because they're going to have to probably play the number 2 seed in the NFC, which is likely going to be the Chicago Bears or the, not the Bucs, or the Eagles. So we'll see what the Packers have to face, but it's going to be a tough road ahead for the Green Bay Packers to make it deep into the playoffs. Not much to say about a couple of these games. I'm going to skim right through these. The Cincinnati Bengals take care of business at home. They put up 37 points in 3 quarters and a 37-14 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I will say, Arizona, I know you only have 3 wins. This has been a bad year. A lot of bright spots. A lot of bright spots in Arizona this year. Jacoby Brissett, they found what works in a passing offense. They found their passing offense and what works. They need a pocket passer quarterback, and they got to get this run game going. That's what got to be the next steps in Arizona. Obviously, their defense has to be the number 1 thing that's fixed. They got to put some focus into their defense, but between Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, I think they have the pieces on offense to make this offense work. They just need to find their quarterback of the future and a couple offensive linemen and running back to make this work. But Michael Wilson, man, has been the second half stud of the year in fantasy football. 5 catches, 89 yards, and an incredible touchdown in this one. But overall, shout out Jamar Chase for being on my fantasy team. 7 for 60 and 2 touchdowns on the day. Chase Brown had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Big win for the Bengals, even though eliminated from playoff contention. The Bengals lose again. Sorry, the Bengals win again, 6-10 on the year. My Pittsburgh Steelers, man, we go from having our best week of the season going into Detroit, playing hard, winning the game, to going into Cleveland and playing an absolute stinker. We didn't score in 3 quarters of this game. Aaron Rodgers looked terrible. Our offensive line looked bad. Our running game was dominated. It looked like the Steelers were more so there to stop Myles Garrett from getting the sack record than we were to actually win. Because there were so many times that Myles Garrett was lined up on the left side of the left outside, being that edge rusher. Rodgers would motion the running back, and the running back would really only be able to chip block Myles Garrett and then run a route. But by the time that he was running the route after doing the chip block, Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball to someone else already. And a lot of the time it wasn't working. You really saw the suspension of DK Metcalf make a huge impact for the Steelers in this game because we had no number 1 receiver. We ended this game. We drove all the way down the field. Down by 7, we drive all the way down. We have chances to score. We had chances. We threw the ball on a fade route to Marquez Valdes-Scantling 3 straight times. And not one of them worked. The NFL wanted that Steelers-Baltimore matchup. I can't disagree with you at all, man. Was very disappointed with what I saw to the Steelers offense. I thought we were going to get Adam Thielen going more. I thought Jonnu Smith was going to get more involved. I loved when we finally started getting Freiermuth involved in the second half. I was wondering where that's been. I thought our defense played well. We stopped the run. Shedeur threw a couple interceptions. We couldn't even get into good field goal range. Boswell, I don't know. Boswell missed another field goal in this one. It just felt like a really bad game all in all, man. It once again felt like the Steelers were more prioritizing stopping Myles Garrett from getting the sack record than we were trying to win. On the last play of the game, like Kenneth Gainwell was wide open, but because he had to chip block Myles Garrett, Rodgers didn't even look his way. And it's like, man, you know, we go from having an incredible ground game a week ago. We run a couple really nice, like 3rd and short, 4th and short plays to Connor Hayward, who had a 29-yard big run. But man, overall, just a really, really tough showing for the Steelers offense. This was one we needed to win, so we could have rested our starters, maybe seen a little bit of Will Howard action. But Rodgers threw the ball 39 times to Shedeur's 23. Now, Shedeur was pretty efficient, 17 of 23. He did throw the 2 interceptions, but I got to give him credit. I thought he played an efficient game. I thought he played a game-managing, solid game. Kept finding Jerry Jeudy on 3rd downs, and that was killing our defense all day long, finding these Jerry Jeudy's on 3rd downs. Couldn't stop them on the ground with a couple of weird runs, but man, bad loss for the Steelers. Could have secured the division with just a win over a team that we're better than. and we did not. So we could have been on a 4-game win streak going into this last week of the season, going into the playoffs. But no, we lose that game against the Browns, and now it's all going to come down to Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock against the Ravens. And I will say the Steelers are home. So, you know, we're hoping we got to win that one. But yeah, here's an article right here. Did DK Metcalf's suspension cost the Steelers the AFC North? I mean, it definitely didn't help. Let's just say that. It definitely didn't help, because out of our 21 completions, it didn't feel like any of them were able to make real big plays after the catch. And that's what we need DK there for, is to bring that attention as a wide receiver one, and he was not there to do so. Shout out to, man, maybe our rookie of the year. Maybe our offensive rookie of the year, Tyler Shuck, has a near-perfect game, 22 of 27, 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shout out Audric Estime after coming back after a bad week before. 14 of 94 and a touchdown on the ground. But, man, Chris Olave was a fantasy superstar in the playoffs this year. Chris Olave in back-to-back weeks had, let's see this, 6 for 85 and a touchdown, 10 for 148 and 2 touchdowns, and 8 for 120 and a touchdown in the fantasy playoffs. Chris Olave, fantasy MVP. 34-26 win. Cam Ward has now lost both of the games against the other rookie quarterbacks in Shador and Shuck. But man, Shuck has looked incredible since taking over in New Orleans. Dude is making every throw. Honestly, his throwing arm just looks really pretty. He's making beautiful throws, whether it's on the run, in the pocket. He's finding his receivers. He's getting this offense moving. I think Kellen Moore might have a guy in Tyler Shuck here who at least will be there for a couple of years battling for starters. I think it shows the Saints that, you know, I would not go in the direction of a quarterback early on. I would try and round out this offense, find the next Kamara, because Kamara is getting older, dealing with injuries. I'd find the next offensive stud you're going to put on this offense, and build up that defense, build up your lines. And the Saints, man, it's crazy. I think the Saints are really only 2 wins away this whole season from leading this team. If they didn't start off 0-4 like they did, losing to the Cardinals, barely losing to the Niners, losing a bad game to the Patriots, barely losing to the Dolphins in that game, this is a team we could be talking about as sneaky close to the playoffs, which is crazy to say. But man, the Saints 6-10 take home a victory in Tennessee. The Jaguars go into the Indianapolis and win. Man, Phillip Rivers had with one really bad throw in this game, one really bad throw in this one, turned out to be an interception. 150 yards, a touchdown, and a pick for Rivers. I was very impressed with the Colts, though. This was the first time since getting Rivers I really felt like the offense found more rhythm. I know against the Niners, they technically dropped 27 points. They look good, but I thought this one, the ground game, finally got going a little bit more than recently. Jonathan Taylor got stuffed by that 49ers run defense last game. So to see them go against Jacksonville and Jonathan Taylor finally get a couple of good runs going felt good. But Trevor Lawrence, even with throwing no passing touchdowns, ran it in twice, secured the win late in this one, 23-17 win for the Jaguars over the Colts, which if I go to the AFC playoff standings now, Jaguars still hanging around that possible 1 seed in the AFC at 12-4. They still are giving themselves a chance if both the Patriots and the Broncos lose this last week of the season. Might be interesting to see Jacksonville take over and host a playoff game this year. The Jacksonville Jaguars hosting a playoff game. The Miami Dolphins beat the most disappointing team in the second half of the season, being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 20-17 in regulation. Baker, Jalen McMillan has a good game. Chris Godwin has a good game. Mike Evans catches a touchdown. Ekuka barely gets targeted, and they still lose the game. Fire Todd Bowles and get Baker Mayfield a throwing coach, because, oh my gosh, this Buccaneers team has been so underwhelming. You can make all the arguments, right? Baker Mayfield has a couple bad weeks previously. Now they can't run the ball in this one, right? Against a team like the Miami Dolphins, who everyone and their mother's been able to run against them. Not the Bucs. 9 carries for 19 yards for Bucky Irving. 2 carries for 10 yards for Rachaad White. 2 for 8 for Sean Tucker. They tried to win this game passing. And Quinn Ewers said, I'm going to game manage the heck out of this one and win the Battle of Florida. 14 of 22, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a really funny run that he did a cool celebration after. Cool seeing a guy like Quinn Ewers, you know, have a moment, not have many mistakes in this one. I know there was I believe a botched snap that turned into a fumble, but they did recover it. Miami Dolphins, man, 20-17 win. What's crazy, I think the Dolphins and the Bucs have the same record, and the Bucs could still make the playoffs somehow, because I think the Dolphins are, like 3 games at least away from the playoffs. Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel likely saved his job in the second half of this season, with Miami now 7-9. They've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've won 5 of their last 7, 6 of their last 9. They have to go to New England, but New England likely going to be resting their starters at home, I would guess. But look at that. Miami Dolphins go to 7-9, and the Bucs fall to 7-9 with the loss. Bucs needed to win this one because they could have secured a closer spot to the division. But now, because of that loss, the Panthers could lose to the Bucs on Sunday, and as long as the Falcons win, the Buccaneers would still lose the division, and the Falcons would move on to the playoffs. Drake May likely solidified his MVP case. I really believe Drake May is the MVP of the NFL this season because 19 of 21, 260 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I mean, you want to talk about a perfect game. It don't get much more perfect than 19 of 21, 260, and 5 touchdowns with no interceptions, no turnovers in the game. 6 for 101 and a touchdown for Diggs. 5 for 55 and a touchdown for Stevenson. Hunter Henry with a touchdown. Efton Chisholm, a guy that they've really been wanting to get more involved off their practice squad, came in and caught a touchdown. Shout out to him. Austin Hooper got in the end zone. Everything was working against that Jets defense. They were up 35-3 at halftime. Shout out to Breece Hall. Fantasy managers probably go, rejoice with Breece Hall because he ran that 59-yard rushing touchdown, and which was big time for the Jets, especially for fantasy football managers. But Jets have every single problem on the NFL field, and Drake May took advantage of it and probably solidified his MVP stats. 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is likely what's going to win the MVP this season for Drake May and the New England Patriots. The Seattle Seahawks go into Carolina, a game that Carolina would have liked to win to solidify the division, but no, Seattle goes in, wins a 17-point game, scored majority of their points in the second half. This game was a hard-fought battle until that second half, when then bang, the Seattle Seahawks running offense completely dominated the second half. 18 for 110 and 2 touchdowns for Sharp, 15 for 51 on the ground for Kenneth Walker. A.J. Barner getting into the end zone. JSN, unfortunately, likely will not be hitting 2,000 yards, but man, we still got to give credit where credit is due. This man, JSN, 13 for 1,700 yards and 10 touchdowns on the year is an incredible feat so far. We got to see if they secure the #1 seed next week against San Fran, but 113 for 1,709 and 10 touchdowns is an incredible stat line at this point in the season for a guy like JSN. Seahawks 27-10 victory keeps their #1 seed in the NFC hopes alive, but man, this is going to be a great weekend. Saturday night game between them and the 49ers. Winner takes the 1 seed, secures home field advantage in the playoffs, when the loser gets the 5 seed and has to go on the road in round 1 of the playoffs, possibly to Carolina. But Seattle proving that they can do it. 27-10 second half victory over the Carolina Panthers. For the battle for the #1 pick, the Raiders win the battle for the #1 pick as the Giants technically win the game 34-10. Dominated on the ground. Jackson Dart with 2 rushing touchdowns. Singletary with a rushing touchdown. But man, Geno Smith came right in this one through an interception. Michael Mayer filled in for Brock Bowers with 9 for 89. But overall, the Giants ruined all their chances at a #1 pick. I thought that was going to be big for the Giants to get that pick, to possibly get a trade for draft assets, yada yada. The Raiders secured the #1 pick likely in the upcoming NFL draft. If I go to the playoffs, I'm seeing the Raiders are the only team in the NFL with 2 wins on the season now. So as long as they lose next week, the Raiders will secure themselves the #1 overall pick. Interested to see if they decide to go Dante Moore, if they decide to go Fernando Mendoza. What quarterback route are the Raiders going to go? But in the battle for the #1 pick, the Raiders are victorious. The Giants scored a touchdown in every quarter of that game, and the Raiders stink. Yeah, right, Timbo. It's actually just a hood. I can't lie. It's literally just like a hood. But it's kind of cold, so I'm just being super warm right now, and this is really warm. So That's what this is. The Eagles. Oh, Josh Allen had a chance, but man, in a really weird defensive battle, Jalen Hurts has 0 passing yards in the entire second half of this game, but the Eagles still go on to win 13-12 in Buffalo. Was a little disappointed in Buffalo's run game in this one. I thought their running offense was going to be a little bit better. But man, Brandon Cooks, one of the coolest pickups of the game. 4 for 101, including a huge 50-yard catch in this one for Brandon Cooks. He's kind of been their wide receiver one since going over there. Kind of crazy to say, but man, Brandon Cooks low-key been their big play guy since they brought him over from the Saints, I believe, released him. Kind of interesting that. Hopefully they don't mess up the #1 pick like they usually do. Yeah, I can't wait to see how much the combine and that stuff impacts it, because right now it feels like Mendoza should really be that #1 overall pick. Interested to see if the combine, you know, changes the mentality of that Raiders front office, to see if they want to go in a Dante Moore direction or a Lenora Sellers direction after the combine. So I can't wait to see what the Raiders tend to do with the #1 overall pick. Buffalo scores in this one. They score all 12 points in the fourth quarter. They have a great fourth quarter comeback. And then bang, they go for 2 at the end of the game. Even at home, they decide to go for 2. Josh Allen has, I forget who it was. I think it was Khalil Shakir off the left side, and boom, he just overthrows him and misses him on the 2-point conversion. 12-13 loss for the Bills. Man, the Eagles keep finding ways to win. Even in bad offensive showings, they keep finding ways to win. This was a good one for the Eagles to maintain that #3 seed in the NFC. Maintain, obviously, they won the division already, so they weren't playing for too much. But the Bills, man, Josh Allen aggravated his foot in this game, so hope that he's healthy and feeling good for the playoffs. That's obviously #1 case scenario, but it looks like the Bills are going to be the 5 or the 6 seed in the NFC, right, or in the AFC. If I go to the playoffs right now, they would actually be the 7 seed. Wow, so this week 18 is really going to make it interesting between the wild card spots. Who is going to win between the Texans, Chargers, and Bills? Because right now the Bills would have to go to New England, the Chargers would be going to Jacksonville, and the Texans would be going to Pittsburgh. Be very interesting to see who ends up in what wild card spot going into the playoffs for, obviously, the playoff matchups. But this doesn't make me feel much worse about either of these two teams. It was a weird game, snowy game. You love to see the weather impact this game. I know O'Toole posted a video on social media about outdoor stadiums and how much of an impact the outdoor stadium had in this one. And now Buffalo is obviously building a dome stadium, which is going to take away all the weather implications in Buffalo. Don't know how I feel about that. I can't lie. Game of the week. The Sunday night game. I mean, every time that one team scored, the other team matched it. It was an incredible game. Also, I know a lot of you guys were bashing me earlier in the year. Even when Mac Jones was playing well, I was telling you guys how good of a quarterback Brock Purdy is. And man, he continues to show how good of a quarterback he is. 5 touchdowns on the day for Brock Purdy, 1 for Christian McCaffrey. The ground game was going really well for the Niners. The passing game was going really well. The ground game was going really well, and specifically in the red zone for Ben Johnson's offense. Was super impressed with the 22-yard rushing touchdown that Swift had. Was super impressed with some of the run plays that I saw. But finally, the rookies have a huge impact on the Bears offense. Their first and second round pick was Colston Loveland, 6 for 94 and a touchdown, and Luther Burden, 8 for 138 and a touchdown. Yes, sir, Eric, Luther Burden season. Since we've seen Rome Odunze go down with the injury, Burden has definitely stepped up, and he is legit. He is a good receiver. We're going to see him have a big impact on the playoffs. I believe he's going to have a big playoff. He's going to be a reason that this team wins or loses in the playoffs. If they can get him going, I could see them winning a playoff game, but it's going to be tough for them to host any of those NFC teams even at home. But man, Brock Purdy, at the end of the day, dominates this one. 5 total touchdowns, 300 yards in the air, 30 yards on the ground, a couple great rushing plays, a couple really beautiful passes. Some of these passes that he's making over the middle to guys like Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Demarcus Robinson, Jake Tongas had a couple good catches and the touchdown. This Niners team is legit, and now they get to go and host the Seattle Seahawks on that Saturday night game for the NFC. That is going to be such a good game. Brock Purdy playing the best football of his season so far. I mean, look at that. Yeah, since Purdy's come back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game win streak for the Niners. This team was 6-4, and they are now all the way up to 12-4. Shows you, man, Kyle Shanahan, all the injuries that this team has dealt with. Robert Saleh, by the way, got to give huge credit to him for having they made the defensive stop at the end to win this game. Robert Saleh was a great defensive pickup. Fred Warner has been hurt. Nick Bosa was hurt. George Kittle missed time. Brock Purdy missed time. Jawan Jennings missed a couple weeks. Ricky Pearsall missed half the season. And this is a team we're still talking about could be the #1 seed in the entire NFC. That is so impressive overall, but man, the Bears just lost this one. They kept throwing incompletions to end this game. Caleb Williams, look at that. Incompletion short right. Incompletion to Loveland. Spiked the ball, obviously, and then incompletion to Walker to end the game. That was it. The Bears, though, I will say the Bears are for real. The Bears are here. I got to look at these NFC playoff matchups right now to see what we would be looking at. If it started, the Bears right now would host the Green Bay Packers. That's a good matchup for the Bears, especially with the Packers' defense being decimated. So Bears are looking to, definitely want to stay at that 2 seed. They want to host whatever team, or really it would just be the Packers. So right now it's looking pretty much like it's either going to be Bears, Packers, or Eagles, Packers. I think the Bears are going to want to see them and beat the Packers at home in the playoffs. But probably the game of the week. What a great game that turned out to be. I know my buddy needed Brock Purdy to drop 36 fantasy points, and he won his fantasy championship. Brock Purdy dropped 40, so congratulations to him. And then last night, in a game that I thought the Rams were going to go in and really want to win, Matthew Stafford throws a pick 6 in the second quarter. Falcons, 21-0 lead at halftime. Was shocked to see that. Bijan Robinson, though, man, that 93-yard rushing touchdown was absolutely incredible. I've been saying it for a couple weeks now. Kenny, I saw you just joined the stream. Welcome in, Kenny. Ryan O'Toole just walked into the building. You guys know I've been vouching it. Bijan Robinson is the best running back in football this season. Because, oh my God, he is so talented. When he is gone at breaking tackles, at catching the ball, there is nothing he can't do on a football field. He is him. He is so good at football and continues to be better and better every single week. 195 yards on the ground in this one. It's crazy to think that, by the way, that he had 100 yards on top of a 93-yard rushing touchdown. You just don't see that in the NFL anymore. Also, you don't see a guy run for a 93-yard rushing touchdown and not ask for the oxygen mask or, like, reject the oxygen mask after the run. Dude was, like, just celebrating on the sidelines like he just jogged down the field. That is a different level of athletic, in my opinion. We are talking about a different breed of a human being in Bijan Robinson and what his body can do. But, oh, my God, man. He was catching passes. He caught a touchdown. He had that big run. I am so impressed with Bijan Robinson. Finally, Raheem Morris realized, like, just give Bijan the ball and good things will happen to you. But the defense finally stepped up in a couple of good ways. I think the Falcons' issue has been coaching and non-committed quarterback play all season long. This is a team that I thought should have been a playoff team. Arthur Blanket, yeah, right? I thought they had a lot of bad fourth quarter coaching decisions that lost them games early in the year, and then their weird quarterback situation, drafting Michael Penix at 8 after paying Kirk Cousins $160 million. It doesn't create for, consistency across the board in the organization. And this Falcons team technically could have the same record as the Panthers or the Bucks and not even be close to the playoffs technically, which is so crazy. But exactly, lots of talent, good defense, good offensive line. Yeah, they gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $160 million deal, and that same offseason took the 8th overall pick with Michael Penix. Just absolutely makes no sense to me. Puka Nacua, by the way, I wish that was a catch. I don't know how many of you guys were able to watch the end of this game. That should have been a catch, man. I understand he bobbled it by the time he got possession. Best non-catch ever. Oh, man, that should have been a catch. I hate that that isn't ruled a catch, just because his feet aren't in technically but he had possession. You know what I mean? He had possession of the ball. Just rule it a catch. I don't know. It's one of my football things. Just rule it a catch. Give him a chance at the end of the day. But man, overall 27-24 win. Falcons hurt the Rams' first-round pick, which is kind of funny because the Rams obviously own the Falcons' first-round pick. Stafford threw a couple bad interceptions. There's that meme now going around of Stafford diving at that one interception. I saw so many memes this morning of like Stafford trying to keep a hold of his MVP trophy, and it's him diving at that cornerback on the right sideline. Stafford likely threw his way out of the MVP the past couple weeks, even though he threw 42 touchdowns, which is 12 more than Drake May, 8 interceptions on the season, 4,500 yards so far. But I will say they technically, I saw Sean McVay come out and say they are playing their starters in Week 18, so they are looking to get that wild card spot, which is kind of interesting because now that I'm looking at it, if they win and the 49ers lose, I guess technically they could jump up to 5. So maybe that's Sean McVay's way of saying we don't want to go to Chicago or Philly. We'd rather go to Carolina. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And if Stafford does play, I don't think Adams will play. I think Adams will stay out due to the hamstring injury. But I'm interested to see if they do play and nothing happens. Just interesting decisions to be made going into this week. But I will say, you definitely want Carolina out of these 3 teams right here. Now, I will say, though, the 49ers, I believe the Rams are going to play after the 49ers do, because that 49ers game is at night on Saturday. So the Rams are going to say right now that they're going to play their starters, but realistically, by the time 4:25 rolls around on Sunday, they might, if San Francisco wins, they have nothing to play for. So if San Francisco wins, they would have nothing to play for. I'd be surprised to see them play all their starters there if the Niners win. But if the Niners lose, they would be playing for the 5 seed possibility. That wouldn't surprise me to see them play their starters. But wow, great games we have on Saturday. At 4:30 on Saturday, Carolina at Tampa Bay. And then at 8 o'clock on Saturday, Seattle at San Francisco. Both of them for the division and for different spots in the NFC. What a weekend of football it was, though, man. If I go through all the scores, so many big playoff implications online. Like Jacksonville getting the win in Indy was so big for Jacksonville's spot. Tampa Bay losing was so big. Drake May probably solidified the MVP. Seattle winning keeps them in charge of the NFC. The Giants win the battle for the number 1 pick. Josh Allen could have given himself a chance still at the number 1 seed, or not at the number 1 seed, but at a higher wild card spot, but no, they choke away that 2-point conversion. Game of the week, San Francisco. The Falcons upsetting the Rams. Baltimore making a statement win with Harbaugh's job on the line. Houston with a 4th quarter comeback on the Chargers. Minnesota upsetting Detroit. Detroit being the biggest fall-off team this season. Steelers losing. Possibly losing them their playoff spot. I mean, absolutely great week of football in Week 17. And we only have one more week in the NFL regular season, ladies and gentlemen, and the NFL season will be completed.